Welcome back to another edition of Inside Great Lakes Sailing. My name is Greg Mormon. As you can see behind me, it's about 8:30 here on the dock at Harbor Springs. We're here for the U-Gotta-Regatta. We're also catching up with some of the stuff from the Port Huron to Mac race for Bayview Yacht Club. And we'll bring some of those interviews. We had a chance to talk to a number of sailors about just Mother Nature flexing her wings and just kind of letting everybody know sometimes who's the boss. Everybody's got a story. Lots of those were posted, and we'll try to bring you some of that information. We're going to be here for the U-Gotta-Regatta a little bit, talk to the guys that were involved in this race, all of the big boats. This is sort of the vacation race, if you will, after the two MAC races and some of the shorter Queen's Cups and Mills races. This is a fun place to be. If you're in Harbor Springs in July with 65-degree weather and complaining, you just aren't spending much time to it. We've got some cute stories coming up, and we'll get to that in a couple of seconds. And stay tuned, and we appreciate you about watching. Welcome back. We're talking with John Hune, who won the U-Gotta-Regatta race this weekend on Katana. John, we've had a number of conversations, and first of all, congratulations. And what a way to sort of, not end of season, because you still have Little Traverse race, and I know that the season-ending championship has been canceled, but the reality to it was, what a great place to finish, semi-finish a season off in Harbor Springs with the weather that was there. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, we've got one more boat, one more event up there, but certainly Harbor Springs is the highlight of the season. It's a wonderful town, and of course the harbor is beautiful, and it's close to the race course. And we were really lucky after some of the smoke that's been up there in Michigan. We had a beautiful week with great breeze and sunshine, so always a great event.
You kind of working hard on buoy racing this year. You didn't compete in either of the Max or the Queen's Cup, so you've had basically two starts and you've won them both. So that's got to say something pretty good for the crew.
Yeah, we feel good about it, and the crew's really pretty awesome. We've got a great team that we've stuck together over the years. A few changes here and there, but great team, and it feels like we're clicking pretty well right now.
How do you come to a decision not to compete in the offshore races?
Yeah, well, our long-term plan is to take the boat to Europe and compete in the Super Series. So we really wanted to focus on the buoy races and get better at that. As you're probably aware, it takes a bit to transform one of these boats from inshore to offshore, where you've got reaching sails and additional halyards and usually a stronger bobstay and bowsprit and things of that nature. And so focusing on what we're working on saves us a little of that change over time as well.
The interesting part of the season is that you've got all these boats. You can really tell this year, obviously the closeness in terms of, we're going to have that conversation in a couple of seconds, but if you look at some of the older boats, these 6, 7s, and 8s, and then you look at the 14s and 15s, as you talk to the folks on the boats, especially the skippers, the newer boats have that extra gear, just that slightly extra gear that the other ones just don't have. And when you see how well Hooligan did, for example, throughout the season, they're on an older boat, but sometimes crew can make up for a little difference, but not necessarily for the entire difference. Is that a fair observation?
I think that's a fair observation too. Some of the newer boats have a more professional crew, and some of the other boats might be a hybrid between amateur professionals. So there could be a little extra juice in that regard. But all these boats are pretty competitive, and we've seen even some of the older boats right up there, and especially some of the offshore races. The newer boats are a little bit wider and have a little bit more hull form stability. And so in certain conditions, that really makes a big difference.
Thoughts of going to the Super Series and going to the Med? That's got to be a huge, not only financial commitment, but a personal commitment to you and your crew.
Yeah, it's exciting, a little anxiety over it all, both on the costs and the competition. It's going to be a whole nother level over there, but we're excited to go. And after one more event in Harbor Springs, the boat ships immediately to Europe, and our first event is October over there. And certainly we expect tougher competition, despite being really tough here in the lakes as well. But the saying, "What doesn't kill us makes us stronger." So we're going to go over and find out.
Specifically, the U-Gotta-Regatta, there's some B-roll about to start rolling. I don't think people realize how close the racing is. And at one point, you had a buoy mark racing just behind Mockingbird to kind of slip in, and that'll be part of this little B-roll. And is it for you? Obviously, you've made the decision to work on buoy racing, but those boats are exciting to race. But does it get a little nervous when you make the kind of turns and the closeness that those boats have with each other?
Yeah, it's amazing how close it is. I think 4 or 5 boats won a race in this 8 race regatta. As you see in some of the video, these boats all arrive at the windward mark or the leeward mark at the same time, often overlap. So, a couple inches matters between getting in there safely or having to duck. And if you're ducking, you might be ducking a couple more boats. So, yeah, there was a couple close roundings there where we were within, I'll say inches, probably a foot or two of other boats. But that's what it takes to kind of compete at this level. And a couple inches ahead versus a couple inches behind matters.
John, is it skill or is it, and I don't know what the word might be, but when you're making that deciding turn of taking the inside track or how whatever you might do, is it skill and a determination like maybe like a stuntman might be a calculated move, or is it a little bit sometimes risky and just sort of going for it and hoping for the best?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I'd like to think it's skill. Sometimes I think there's a little bit of luck. At the last minute, a shift comes and says, okay, I can do this. So going into those types of maneuvers, it feels like a 50-50 situation. And at the last minute, you have to calculate how risky is it, and you maybe bail out, which we did on at least one rounding. And in other cases, we get that little bit of shift and you have a little bit of a extra speed, and then you feel like you can get it in there and get it done safely because these are big and expensive boats and you really can't afford contact with them.
The very first Sail GP race in Chicago, it preceded the crash that they had between the Japanese boat and the English boat. I think it was someplace in Europe that they crashed. We saw the remnants of the boats that had crashed. When you see carbon fiber, and then of course you had the video to go along with looking at the piece, it doesn't break. It's a sort of like explosion, if you will.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
it was amazing looking at that. And then you look at the 52s and you kind of worry. There was a really touching video of you and your son sitting and kind of you giving him some driving lessons and the rest of it. As a coach who coached his own kid through high school in a couple of sports, it's got to be a treat for you. And just touch on that briefly of what that kind of moment means.
Yeah, I feel like I've failed as a sailor because neither one of my sons are overly involved in sailing. So, but time's not over yet. So I still feel like every time I can get the kids out on the boat, and we've done that with some of the other cruise kids, get them out on the boat, help them enjoy sailing. And so it was special to me to get him out there, even though the wind was light before a race, and just do a little sailing together. And I think he enjoyed it, which is the first step of trying to get anybody, but certainly your kids back into sailing.
How many boats for the little Traverse race coming up next weekend?
I'm not sure, but I think 6 or 7. Unfortunately, this season we've lost 3 or maybe even 4 52s due to damage. The races have been pretty brutal this year, and so we've lost, I think, 2 masts, 1 boom, and a spread. And so, unfortunately, those aren't stock parts. So once
Right.
you lose them, you're kind of out for the season.
This race, you lost Nimbus to a mast.
That's right.
One of the Mac races, there's the Port Huron race, you lost Legacy to a
Yeah.
boom, just sort of cracked. That was some interesting video. What was the other demasting? I don't know the other one.
Yeah, I think another boat demasted in the Mac race. I'm not
Okay.
sure which one. And then somebody damaged a prod as well. I think usual suspects
Okay.
damaged a prod.
Yeah, because
So
Eric hasn't raced since the Queen's Cup.
yeah, it's been frustrating. Obviously, when that happens, it's gutting because you put all the time and energy and cost and crew together to be able to
Right.
race these boats, and then you sit on the sidelines.
Well, we appreciate your time and good luck in the Little Traverse race. We will hopefully see you up there. And then before you get to the Med, we're going to follow you a little bit when you get to the Med, so we'll keep track of that as well.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody keeping track of us. We need all the support we can get, and thanks for all you do, Greg.
back on the water.
Yeah, back
Obviously back in competition, so he's got to feel pretty good.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, this is first big competition since last year's Chicago Mac. Loving it. Good to be back in the water. We got a great team. It was obviously a challenging race from a weather standpoint, but we've backfilled crew members with a bunch of young kids this year.
Yeah.
I got a 17-year-old navigator, and I got a couple of young bow team people filling in, and where you might worry with the youth that big weather was going to cause problems, these guys just did great. So we had a ball. Really enjoyed it.
It's got to be back. Nice being back behind the steering wheel.
Yeah, loving it.
Mother Nature, obviously, kind of one of the things we've seen a lot of is sort of everybody flexing their. Mother Nature kind of flexes and everybody kind of gets humble a little bit. And that's been kind of the reaction to the race. The same kind of with you?
Yeah. No, part of it with me is just, there's anxiety, not much. I respect the lake. I've been out in some really big stuff. On deliveries, we can end up with 12, 15-foot following seas. It's a little different when you're turning and you have to go somewhere you're going upwind. But I think the big thing to me is keep the boat safe, keep the crew safe, and you settle in after a couple hours, you realize everybody's calm, the boat's holding together, and it's just like, okay, this is just another day on the lake, let's do this.
Competitive sailors are a lot like golfers. They're very mental about their game, very serious about their game. So any defect on the boat, they consider a big deal.
In those perfect conditions, they're still looking for something at the bottom. Will you find things at the bottom of these? Will you actually see stuff that you can scrub off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So it does make sense.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks. You can see behind me the fleet. They're getting ready for a tour of the bay coming up on the U-Gotta-Regatta here in Harbor Springs, Michigan. We had a chance to spend some time talking yesterday with Morgan Larson, the 3-time America's Cup participant, college All-American from Santa Cruz, and I met him a couple of times, but he's a friend of ours from John Sweeney out in California. But Morgan is a great guy, just a wonderful human being, and you'll get a chance to see that in this interview. So up next, Morgan Larson. Welcome back. We're spending some time with Morgan Larson, one of the great American sailors. Morgan, 3-time America's Cup. You're here for the U-Gotta-Regatta as part of the Katana fleet. And just talk a little bit about today's weather and just the conversations. It looks like it's a really cool place to be in July, early August.
Yeah, this is the highlight of our season. It's coming to Harbor Springs, sailing fresh water. It's clean, fresh water. Nice town that seems to really, they love sailing. They love having us, so it's nice to be here. We were lucky. We had a couple great days of practice, some good westerlies, and today, and yesterday, the winds really just hung in there good. So we've had 2 good days of sailing and 6 races so far.
From a technical standpoint, are Great Lakes sailing anything like ocean? Is there any comparisons, or are they completely different animals?
I think it's all pretty similar. And you guys get weather on the lakes, and you even get surfing on the lakes sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So no, it's similar, but yeah, fresh water's a pleasure. For some reason, our boat, we just tend to do a little better in the fresh water too. I don't know why.
Well, I think sailing, right? That's one of those things.
Yeah, it is.
You're a Santa Cruz native. You're in Hood River, Oregon now.
Yep.
And that's a very interesting contrast because I'm guessing if you didn't sail, you'd probably be surfing.
That's right. Yeah, I love surfing. And the river is amazing. You get the west wind going against a couple 3-4 knots of current, and so there's pretty good waves on the river. And with all the new sports, all the foiling sports, it's a mecca of water sports.
As we had talked before we started this interview, we spent a lot of time at government camp, so we get to come up your way, and then we spend a lot of time racing at Bend, so we know that part of the world. It is Taylor Sheridan has certainly proven that Idaho, Wyoming, that whole area up there is God's country, to say the least.
It's beautiful, but I think you guys have something special here, and everybody that goes up towards Marquette and the Upper Peninsula says that's a unique part of the world that we should see.
Yeah, sure. Talk about the 52 fleet. I think we're learning more about it. I think it's become, we've said more than once, it's the best fleet in North America for big boats. And that being the case, we're getting more and more guys like you. And every boat's got somebody that has the kind of experience that you have. This isn't America's Cup, this isn't Louis Vuitton, but it's pretty close.
I think there's something unique about 50-ish foot boats that they fit in the wave train nice. I don't know, they rate well. Somehow 50 feet is just a good number. And Doug DeVos obviously was the biggest supporter of the class and really grew that class in Europe and the U.S. So he's still here supporting it, doing the runners for his son, which is really special. And yeah, it's just a great feeling. It's a great camaraderie, a lot of learning together, and great racing.
Somebody that's 19, 20, 21 years old, can they make a living at being a pro sailor?
I think so, yeah. There's room for it. These boats take some skill and some preparation. So young people with some skill, whether it's rigging or mechanical side, or learning hydraulics and parts of boats, electronics, things that are useful to a team, because you need to have those things running. It's a great way to get a start. So if you're young, you want to sail big boats, having a skill that adapts, and then being good at listening and learning and sailing in this fleet, you're going to learn quick.
Like the Med fleet, this is a strong fleet of owners. And I don't mean owners just because when I say strong, I don't mean just because of the dollars. They're certainly committed. John Hune, your syndicate head chair, is from St. Louis, and he's all over the place sailing. And Katana's got an amazing group of sailors that they might not have sort of a super name, but they got a whole bunch of guys. There's another Morgan on your program that mentioned to me that he has 19 world championship, and you have 9, and I should talk to him first. he's the more, but apparently that's a rib that kind of goes back and forth with the two.
He's a talent, and he loves sailing. He probably does 250 days a year sailing, where I'm trying to do 75 days a year. Different skill set. He's a trimmer. He's really good, and he's one of the best in the world. And Terry Hutchinson had him alongside for a long time, and he's always been with good people.
Learn from good folks.
Funny enough, I met John sitting almost at this picnic table on this grass. We were packing stickers up 4 years ago. He flew up to check it out, and was thinking,
okay.
And we discussed it. He asked me what I thought about our budget and what for what he wanted to do. And I think there's you've seen some of the boats out here, Nimbus, Fjord, 2 or 3 other older boats, right? That are Hooligan, and there's some older boats that you can pick up an older 52 for $300,000 and grab some used sails off these teams.
Well, if
for
you're
next to nothing, and if you have a few good friends that are good, and maybe a couple of young guys that you're training up, and maybe hire 2 or 3 guys to point you in the right direction, and all of a sudden you're out there having a good time.
The price of the boats has come down dramatically. You looked 5 years ago; those boats were $1 million plus.
Well, funny is the sort of 10 to 15-year-old boats have come down, but the newer ones are almost more expensive. It's probably the first time in sailing where a boat's worth more now than it was before. John bought his for a pretty good price 3 years ago. It's worth probably $500,000 more now than it was then, because the cost of building is expensive. The mast is, the order of a brand new mast is $500,000, $600,000, $700,000.
Well, the Fjord boat is the old usual suspect for Rick Weinsbaum.
Right.
We were on the boat the week before he blew the mast, and it's one of those things. And they had to scrap the boat. Obviously, they got a hull out of it because it turned out the insurance covered the cost of replacing the mast. But the mast was $150,000 for the mast, and it's not like anybody's got one sitting in a.
No, and a $150,000 mast is a steel. Typically.
Well, in this case,
they built more like $500,000.
It's a 2-spreader as compared to a 3-spreader. So there's all kind of.
Oh, they got a used one, right? They found a used mast.
Yeah, which is what he's using. And he's got a bunch of guys. We have a mutual friend in John Sweeney.
Yeah.
John and I are working together in this whole America's Cup process. And I say we're working. It's John's baby. We've just been sort of digging in on some of the information. But John said something interesting. He said you guys both sailed America's Cup stuff together.
We grew up together. I mean, he is in Marin County, and I crewed for his best buddy Hogan Beatty, or we sailed together. And I learned a lot about life outside of sailing and sailing with those guys, you know. And San Francisco is a fun time to be a late teenager.
I asked John, you know, what separated the two of you. He says, I just watched one day he got to be a better sailor than I was. He says, I got out of it to go work doing some other things.
Yeah, I think he got successful in business, and you know, he's done well. And the good news about sailing is you can go do that, and he's got great skills, and now he's recreationally sailing and, you know, having a good time again.
You're also a world champion on a Moore 24, and I know one of the things that very few people know. It's an asymmetrical boat.
It's funny, yeah, it is an interim, and you say world champion, but you know they're all in the U.S. They're all in Santa Cruz, San Francisco, Seattle. But yeah, they're a fun boat. They are an asymmetrical boat, and we've had a lot of discussions about it because this year is the 50th anniversary of the Nationals for them, and I think they're going to get upwards of 60, 65 boats in Santa Cruz this September.
This is sort of an inside baseball ask, and the only reason I know it is because I've just fallen in love with the Moore 24s, partly probably because of Scott Bester and some of the discussions. There was a regular Moore 24, and then there was a Moore 24S, which had a cabin top.
Yep, SC, yep.
What's your preference on those two?
I have one of each.
Okay.
Funny enough, I bought a boat from a buddy of mine over 20 years ago, and my wife and I had sailed it, you know, competitively and just recreationally having fun. And what a fun fleet! Really great class of people and competitive, super competitive. So, like for me, it's just a great way to stay sharp to come do this kind of sailing. And then my parents had a boat in number 88. They bought new in 1981. For I got the bill of sale. Original bill of sale was $6,100.
Wow.
And they had it for a few years, and then they sold it, and it went through quite a few owners and a little bit of disrepair. And they're balsa cord boats, and you know they can get quite wet in bad areas. It takes a lot to repair them. But a guy approached me and said, "Hey, I have your parents' old boat. If you want it, give me a few bucks for it and fix it up." So we just finished a 9-month refit on it, and so it's back in the water. It looks like a brand new boat.
It really kind of goes interesting how there are fleets. Cal 25s are big here in the Great Lakes. Obviously, more 24s and different boats in different places, and I can certainly prove that point.
Yeah,
it's
Tartan 10s in Chicago and whatnot. Yeah,
they're interesting boats. Surfing, sailing. What's 1 and what's 1A for you?
I love surfing. It's just such a great sport. So we live in a great place for it. It's you and you know anytime there's waves, you grab your board, get to the water. So that's the sport I love the most. But sailing's for the camaraderie of it and being able to go places. And lucky enough to work.
Having spent 25 years living in San Diego, you really are a California kid. And I say that because just as you're talking, it's like there's a different kind of personality from different places. If it wasn't surfing and it wasn't sailing, what would be you're 56, am I correct?
55.
55.
Yeah.
What would a 55-year-old Morgan Larson be doing?
That's a darn good question. I'd be in the water. I love the ocean. I don't know.
Okay.
Diving, maybe fishing.
Okay. So something related to aquatics of some sort.
Probably.
Probably because you grew up in Santa Cruz.
I love skiing. I'm not a good skier, but I love skiing. I love the mountains. So I'm comfortable and happy in the mountains.
Tomorrow the big 70s Santa Cruzes get underway.
Yep.
You all know if you've spent any time in California, they're great downwind boats, not so much else.
Bill Lee.
We recently had a Queen's Cup from Milwaukee to Wisconsin to great Grand Haven, near Michigan. Everything was a beam reach. Those boats performed really well, almost as well as some of the 52s, but under the right conditions.
Okay.
You've been on a number of Santa Cruzes, I'm sure.
Yeah. My dad worked for Bill Lee. He was in the wood shop. He did the interiors and all those boats, and sailed on Hughes Bowman on Merlin when they set the record at 77.
Yeah.
Through all the 70s.
I've had a conversation with Bill Lee for 37 weeks now. Every other week, and I call him. I wanted to interview him because we were doing boat design at the time, and we interviewed Dean Clark, who originally had the North American 40, and he was given all kinds of credit. I called Bill, and Bill wouldn't talk, and then one conversation led to another, and we've talked to him 30. I chronicle it now. It'd be 10 minutes every Tuesday morning. His time is 9 o'clock when he's drinking his coffee. So
nice. At
some point, I want to get him on, have him talk about boat construction. But he's an interesting guy.
He is. He's super clever. Has a great feel as a sailor. I think he had good project management skills. He was a good leader on the boats, and he created just a time and era in Santa Cruz that was pretty special.
Last question, you guys are doing buoy racing today. Tomorrow you get a little more open water. What's your favorite, open water or more buoys?
I like both, but this fleet's pretty fun around the buoys. There's a lot of good open water sailors out here.
There are.
Having watched we didn't do the Max this year, but watching guys like Stu Benetine sailing on Mockingbird, and Bora and his gang on Natalie J, and the great battles between all of them. Some talent out there. Gordon McGuire sailed Bob Hughes. I mean, they all had some offshore talent.
But 190 miles on the Port Huron to Mac race. It was literally within about a minute and a half, 2 minutes.
Brutal. I mean, there's not like the Transpac's a lot easier than that because you get into a watch system. And
Yeah,
you
well,
get sleep, and these you don't sleep. It's
Hooligan makes up 16 miles in the last 4 hours. Unfortunately, they hit the same wall that everybody else hit, about a mile or 2 miles out from the finish line. But it was, I checked my computer, I think 137 times the front part of the race, but it was fun to watch. Listen, I appreciate you taking the time. I know how busy you are. So.
No, we're just looking forward to go to the Irish party, have a few hot dogs, talk about sailing and friends, and maybe drink a beer.
Well, on John's behalf and mine, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. We're going to spend a little time with a new segment called This and That. We're going to try and bring you some tidbits, not always show stuff, but we have got a, call it the Morgan Show, part of the Katana syndicate. You'll just have to see this to believe it, but one Morgan and two Morgans on the same show, well, it'll be self-explanatory.
Yeah.
This is the same thing that's on the bottom of the drones.
Right.
So it's it's locked in with. We shoot everything. We shoot everything with this thing. So
And you know I'm not the famous Morgan, right? I'm Morgan Trooper.
Oh my God!
Did you want Morgan Larson?
Morgan was coming over. I apologize.
Yeah, that's right. There's two Morgans.
Yep. Nope.
Does he know that?
Yeah. He was supposed to. I thought.
Have you spoken to him?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's coming down.
No, you're good.
We'll catch you next time.
Yeah.
Tell John I said hello.
Yeah. Ask him how many world championships he's won. He's got 119.
Seriously? Can we?
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how's sketches? Ready? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes. Look at that. You didn't turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, you got to get it trending.
No, you're doing it wrong.
Let's go.
Can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
We're obviously talking with our close friend Trey Sheehan. Trey, talk about Mackinac first, but let's talk a little bit what we're here. We're downtown Harbor. You're here for.
We're in Harbor Springs. Yeah, doesn't get any better.
Thoughts on today?
God's country. It's terrific.
Thoughts on today?
Huh?
Thoughts on today?
Today was good. We did 3 races yesterday. The Great Lakes 52s are getting together for a series of Windward Lewards. We've got 3 yesterday, 3 today. It's a little tougher today on us. We can keep pace with the faster boats, but they have just a little bit of a notch that they can go.
You're in 2008, but you've had a phenomenal season. And you had great. You closed out certainly the Chicago Mac race. You closed in within 14. You closed down 14 miles.
Right.
Something must be going right.
Well, and we had they had quite a jump on us, and we were able to get some nice pressure when that storm front came in. And we were able to close the gap pretty good. And when the smoke lifted and we look around and we saw WindQuest right behind us, we're like, oh my.
You had a 2006 52.
Right.
Are you surprised at how well you sailed this year, or do you think it's just the process?
We've been getting better and better incrementally, and it's all about the corners too. And if you keep the rig in the boat and you make sure that you don't put kite in the water and all those things, and getting the crew up to speed. And we have a very tight group that is, a group of John's J70 team and Tartan 10 team and my J70 and Tartan 10 team. So we bring in some terrific people to fill in the corners. Yeah, it's great.
Last question.
Yeah.
Mother Nature reared its head during Mackinac. And the question I've been asking everybody is sort of, if you look at all the peaceful responses, Facebook and everything else, there's a certain humbleness that Mother Nature sort of snuck up and said, not today. And it was just sort of bowing to Mother Nature. Right. Is that a fair explanation?
Yeah, very fair, very fair. It was ugly. And there were points in there, and I looked at all I could think of is, I hope all my friends are okay. Because we're in a big boat with a whole bunch of offshore ocean racers that have been at this for a good long time. And all I could think of is, people got to be so sick and tired of this. And then we started seeing the dropouts, which was completely understood. I mean, it was nasty.
Well, good luck the rest of the weekend.
Thanks, man.
Thanks. Welcome back. We're talking to the Bayview Yacht Club's Port Huron to Mac winner, Dr. Philip O'Neill, on Natalie J. You guys had an epic race with Heartbreaker. We had a chance to talk to Bob Hughes earlier this week, and just talk a little bit about the Mac. It was so fun to watch, at least on Yellow Brick. What was it like first day being out in front, and then maybe a little bit about the weather?
Yeah, it was almost a reversal of last year. Bob and I and Mockingbird were duking it out all the way, and I happened to be the most northern boat and could not get by Bob, who was in, little bit more southerly. But last year it was all a match race between the three of us, and this year, after Mockingbird dropped out, it was just Bob and I. And we routed Cope Island first, and he was right behind us, and we kept it that way all the way through until the finish line.
3 minutes and 2 seconds differences in terms of time. Bora, your navigator, obviously he decided to take sort of the rum line and come kind of straight across. You kind of ran out of air maybe 10, 15 miles or so from the island. Is that a pretty good observation?
Yeah, I think it was perhaps a little closer, but yeah, it was a typical Bayview Mackinac race. No matter what the air is going into it, you get close to the island, and it's almost you're either every tack you're on, you're headed, or there's no breeze in there. And at one point, I think both of us were going backwards, and we had put one of our guys up the rig and found some air further south, so we bore off to that, had a really great shot of breeze, and we were really moving along. Bob was still way to the north, and I said, there's no way Bob's going to even get close to us. And half an hour later, there's Bob. So totally expected. And so all we did is just smash race right to the end, and we weren't going to let Bob get bow out on us.
Bora, we're talking about Bora Gar, the great sailor, is also a family member for you. You guys have sailed together a long time. He typically doesn't take sort of conservative routes, but looking again at Yellow Brick, it was a little more conservative. But your point is, you got to go backwards to go forwards. My question is that there's sort of anxiety knowing that you can literally see the finish line and can't get there. It's got to be crazy.
Yes, that is extremely frustrating, but I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me before. I think the very first one that we won was exactly like that, and we could barely sail across the finish line. So this was nothing new, but it's just it's frustrating for the entire crew.
Yeah.
It was, but then we're so focused on staying ahead of Bob that the wind almost didn't matter.
Were you ahead of all the storms? A little bit ahead of it? Did you catch the brunt of it?
I think the most we ever saw was 32 knots, which is way more than enough. But other boats that I've talked to saw more breeze than that. But the 32, I think this was a really tough Mackinac race. And I think that you found out pretty quickly how put together your boat was and the kind of crew that you decided on. And both of those things make a huge difference when you're in max conditions.
John Walton, who's the double-handed with him with his son Johnny, said that this was the toughest race he's ever seen on the Mac, on their 27 Express. And that includes a time when, as a single-handed, John got hit by a boat and almost sunk his 27 Express. So that's saying something from a difficulty standpoint.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for him. He's a really great sailor, and I think that the comparisons that I heard was that this was the worst one, until I say, well, no, I think the 85 was the worst one.
Yeah. I think it was remarkable that nobody got hurt. I know we had an overboard on Fast Tango that they picked up within about 4 or 5 minutes. But there was also, if you looked at all the Facebook page, let me start this over. If you notice all the Facebook posts, there was a certain humbleness of discussion that Mother Nature sort of flexed her muscles. And I've said this on a couple more interviews. She kind of flexes her muscles, and everybody kind of bows a little bit. And I think there's a little bit of that during this race, because I think 85 boats out of the 201 that started turned back or quit the race for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think that the percentage that dropped out in the 85 race was about 30%. This was a way bigger percentage. And I think it's mainly because we haven't seen weather like this. And that's what the Mackinac is all about. It's you're going out there, it's an adventure. You're never quite sure what you're going to see. Although I think that it's way easier than anything we had in 85, because we all knew it was coming and we knew where it was going to be. And it was, did you bring the right equipment, and are you prepared for it? And then at the start, you're dealing with all the smoke, and you're going, I've never had to issue face masks before a Bayview Mackinac race.
Those are serious masks, so obviously the weather was crazy. One of the cool parts of watching the race, probably 4 hours out, giving that 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening, is I think you guys came across the line about 11:30, something like that.
Yeah. Where?
Mackinac.
Yes, something like that. Right.
It was funny because 18 miles out, Hooligan is out, and we're looking at knot breeze, and they're at the 12, 14, 15 level. You guys are at 3-4. Sometimes you're saying going backwards. It was interesting watching them close the 14 miles, and I think they eventually finished because they ran into the same wall you guys ran into. But they closed a lot of space between it. It was kind of fun, again, just to watch the race late in the evening.
Oh yeah, I know. In fact, one of the races that I didn't win is we're parked, and you can see the whole rest of the class coming up with spinnakers behind you, and you're just sitting there. By the time it hits, they've passed you by. So yes, no, we were very well aware of where Hooligan was.
Little Traverse Bay is the last race of the season. Are you a little disappointed there's no championship this year, just because you can't get enough boats together?
Well, I think some boats chose not to do the Mackinac races for whatever reason, and that was always part of the overall championship. And there still is one more regatta up in Harbor Springs coming up a week from this weekend, and that'll finish that out. So yeah, it's a little disappointing, but for us, we had already decided that we weren't going to be doing the GL-52 season. So for us, it didn't matter, but yeah, a little disappointing. I think it was a great turnout of 52s in Chicago, which is always the case. And I think we had 6 of them for our race, the Bayview race, and I think that bodes well. And I think we're restructuring things so that we'll keep the fleet together and carry on.
Do you think there's more Corinthians coming into the fleet? Because that's certainly true with Legacy. Hopefully the bowsprit of Usual Suspects gets fixed, and Eric Weinsman can get back involved in that. Seems like maybe the Corinthian Fjord is one of those boats that's in that same point. Are you looking for more Corinthians?
Absolutely, and I think Fjord worked out well. I mean, she sailed the whole season and did everything, and hats off to those guys. And I mean, that's where the market is. We try to have as many amateurs come in as we can. You don't have to have a full-blown pro crew, although a lot of the boats are sailed that way. We're not, and I think it just is more fun.
Watching Fjord at the Red Regatta early, they had a tough first race and quite a bit behind the regular fleet. But it was interesting watching them as, again, it takes a while to learn to sail that boat. And with a 2-spread mast versus a 3-spread mast and all the other things you can imagine, they got some very competent sailors on that boat. And they did a nice job through the season of improving.
Oh, I absolutely think so. Yeah, it was great. And too bad we couldn't get Eric out for more of the first part of the season, but glad he did the MAC races.
Well, Doc, thanks. Congratulations. I appreciate your time. And hopefully we'll see you in a week or two up in Harbor again.
Okay, great. Thanks, Greg.
We're obviously talking to one of our favorite skippers, Bob Hughes. Bob, last week was such fun to watch. I understand it's probably not fun to be in, but just talk about the race a little bit.
You know, the Macs are the classics, and that's what we do here in the Great Lakes. And I've been fortunate enough to do like 38, 39 Chicago's, and I don't know, 18 to 19 Port Hurons, and I can honestly say that was the toughest Mac race I've ever done, period. And there was 12 or so hours on the boat that it was not a fun place to be. And you know, 28 to 36 knots of breeze, 10-foot waves, smashing, crashing, and trying to keep the boat going and try to race against everybody. It was tough, but tale of two races. You know, the first 12 hours were just brutal, and the last 12 hours were champagne sailing and typical GL-52 style, a drag race the entire time. It's too bad Mockingbird had a bit of a breakdown because there was 3 of us really duking it out, and after that it was just classic heartbreaker Natalie J race.
The last 5 miles, it looked like you went a little north and they sort of stuck with the line.
Yeah. Bora loves it over there on the island side over there, and we thought we could try to get around going north and to the right there on the top, and just didn't know how it was going to come out at the end, but it was super close. And we had a great start, but right at the start, there's so many different weather things that happened to this thing. We went off the start, all of us kind of flying, and then this front came through with hard rain and wind, and all of a sudden there was a vacuum. And we literally were sailing backwards. 0 wind after the front went through, and sailing backwards, then we could see everybody, Natalie J and Mockingbird, get in the breeze first and just gone over the horizon. So we had to catch them that night. Just the crew worked really hard and all that beating and so forth. So to get back into it was tough work.
You once mentioned to me there was a time you went to sleep and you could hear the lawnmower on the shore because you'd gotten out of the lot of ways. I'm guessing with the 12 hours that you had, you weren't spending a whole lot of time, but awake and paying attention and concentrating.
You were getting below. You were upstairs. I mean, honestly, it's so uncomfortable. Driving was the best thing because at least you were more comfortable and so forth, but your arms got tired after a while. And then when you're not driving or trimming, you're hiking and you're sitting on a bucking Bronco and these waves that the boat, every other wave, you feel like it's going to break in half. And you're getting thrown around on the stanchions and so forth, and praying to God that the lifelines don't break, because if they did, you're not getting back on the boat. I honestly think that the 90 boats that dropped out, it's a damn good thing, because somebody on those boats would have went overboard. Yeah. They were smart enough to not do that, and there's no way you were getting back on that boat if you went over that night.
The last 3 hours, you didn't really have to worry about Hooligan, but then as it got on, as you guys slowed down, Hooligan basically made up 14 miles in the last 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
So they were about 30 minutes off of you guys, because you guys were 3 minutes and 3 seconds apart. So there must have you had to be at least looking over your shoulder a little bit.
Oh, you would come steaming in, and then after all of that, you get close to the island. Within 10 miles, the wind shuts down. You're sailing backwards. You're sailing away from the island just to get going. You're putting up every sail in your inventory, and Bora's going this way and Phil's going that way. We're going this way, and you're just trying to get the boat going. Doesn't matter what direction you're going. And yeah, they're steaming in from behind, and that's sailboat racing.
Last question. If you read people's blogs and you listen to people talk on the dock and all the rest of it, Mother Nature sort of flexed her muscles during this race.
Yes.
And there's this sort of humbleness. There's this. If you read everybody's information, it was like they knew Mother Nature had sort of stepped up. Did you kind of get that same feeling?
Oh, it's respect for the lakes and Mother Nature. She's in charge, and she's going to remind you sometimes that you've got to show respect for it. And yeah, she hit with a 1-2 Muhammad Ali punch there. That was pure, just brutal power sailing, and a little bit of preserve the boat too. But yeah, definitely in charge. And I've never seen it blow that hard for that long. and then build up that kind of a sea state. It was just kind of like the perfect storm.
We're now in Harbor, and just 30 seconds on, just a little bit about this race. Is this kind of, I mean, you're still competing, but is this kind of be able to take a breath and just enjoy it more?
It is. I mean, it's classic. One of the greatest racetracks in the world is Harbor Springs, and yesterday it delivered again. We had big breeze and big waves for all that. Again, obviously not Port Huron stuff, but great racing. And today we had another 3 races in great conditions, and tomorrow looks good. So, yeah, this is the country club sailing, but it's an awesome racetrack, and the racing in the 52 class is just so darn close.
Class C is getting better.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, the level just keeps going up and up and up. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Got some boats back on the district.
Yeah,
you got to be pretty excited about that.
No, I think that's awesome. I think Kent's put together a really interesting program. I think it's going to bring the big boats down on the waterfront in Detroit. It's going to give people a view of racing from pretty close quarters, and I'm excited to participate, and I know the other 70 owners feel the same way. So really looking forward to that.
The fleet really is making a comeback.
It is. It's not quite to the sort of 80s time frame where there were 11 or 12 of these guys kicking around, but they're coming back. There's more of them around. I think the owners are enjoying the process, and it helped an awful lot that Bayview swung around in the end and put us in a class where we weren't racing against the 52s. We can't compete over a long course with a sport boat built 40 years or 30 years later. So
it was fun watching. I was on the Queen's Cup this year. It was fun watching when you get a beam reach. It was, you guys. It was a perfect race for 70.
Yeah, right.
It was really fun watching as everybody was kind of going out.
Yeah,
you guys keeping pace with most of everybody.
Yeah. Well, again, you get the right wind, and it's anybody's day. But long course where you're going to have a mix of everything, you kind of want to sail with your own, and I think getting there with this group of boats for the Bayview race was a treat. And look what happened. Like we were 5 miles behind in the approach to Cove Island, and did some really smart things in terms of tacking in towards the Bruce Peninsula, coming back out. We were back in the mix, and the most of the 70s could see each other rounding Cove Island, and it stayed that tight. We lost 4th place by 9 seconds, and we got corrected over for 2 minutes for 3rd place, and we didn't know that until the last 7 minutes of the race. It's like that's good. That's why we're out here. It's what it's about.
Good luck today.